This is 6th grade Excel lesson 57. We're going to be learning about simplifying fractions and solving equations involving fractions. So first, let's start reading here, and it says 4/8. Whoa, didn't mean to do that. Let me get my pen back here. Okay, 4/8, 5/10, 2/4, 7/14, and 3/6 are all equivalent fractions of 1/2. Notice that 4 is half of 8. Another way of looking at this, 1/2 and 4/8. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. You got to multiply or divide the top and the bottom by the same number, the numerator and the denominator by the same number. So those are equivalent to each other. Saying 1/2 is expressing the fraction in its simplest form. So when they ask you for an answer in its simplest form, it means you cannot divide top and bottom by any number to change it to a different fraction. What is the simplest form of 6/9, 4/6, and 8/12? The answer, they are all equivalent to 2/3. 2/3 is the simplest form of all those fractions. 6 divided by 3 is 2, 9 divided by 3 is 3, 4 divided by 2 is 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3, 8 divided by 4 is 2, 12 divided by 4 is 3. You can see we divide top and bottom by the same number. A fraction can be simplified if the denominator and the numerator can be divided by the same number. So obviously any fractions that have even numbers, if you write 4/8, that fraction is not simplified. If you write 32 over 84, that fraction is not simplified because this is both even. These are both even numbers, and you can always divide even numbers by what? Think. Well, you divide them by 2. Use the greatest common factor of the numerator and denominator to simplify the fraction in one step, or other factors to simplify in more than one step. So say this fraction right here, 32 and 84, and you don't know what the greatest common factor of those two numbers is. So you can just simply divide by 2. And so you do 16, and 84 divided by 2 is 42. And you say, oh, they're both still even. You can divide again and make that 8 over 21. And then at this point, you've got to stop and say, well, they're not both even. So what is the greatest common factor of 8 and 21? Well, the only numbers that you can divide 21 by are 7 and 3, and you can't divide 8 by either one of those numbers, so this fraction is simplified. That's kind of the long way to get the answer. If you know the greatest common factor, you can just go straight to the answer instead of going through all those steps. And it tells you down here that 3/8 is already in its simplest form. You cannot simplify the fraction 3/8. Sometimes I refer to that as reducing, because that's the way that they taught me when I was a kid, so it's kind of stuck in my head. So put each of the following fractions in its simplest form. Here's the first one. It's already done for you. 6/8. The greatest common factor of 6 and 8 is 2, so they're dividing both numerator and denominator by 2 to get 3/4. 3/7 in simplest form is 3/7. You cannot divide 7 and 3 by any number other than 1, which doesn't change the fraction at all. Here's a mixed number, 2 and 4/6, and 4/6, 4 and 6 can both be divided by 2, and when you divide those by 2, you get 2 2/3. All right, number 4, 8/12. So let's try this one together. You divide 8 and 12 by the greatest common factor. What's the largest number you can divide both of those by? If you think about it a little bit, you might realize that it's 4. So you can divide 8 and 12 by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 8/12 is equal to 2/3. Okay, why don't you pause the video and then see if you can solve, let's do 5, 6, and 7, and then turn the video back on. I'll show you those answers. All right, 2 and 9/12. Don't forget the 2. You can't just throw that one away. And then we divide 9 and 12. Both can be divided by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 2 and 3/4. All right, number 6. Again, don't forget the 6. We can't throw that away. 6 and 7/14. 7 and 14 can both be divided by 7, and so that's 1/2. The answer to this is not 1/2. It's 6 and 1/2. You have to put the 6 back in there. Number 7, you can divide top and bottom by 5 here, and so the answer is 4 and 1/2. Okay, why don't you go ahead and do 8 through 12. Pause the video and turn it back on when you're ready to see the solutions. 3 and 2/8. is equal to 3 divided by 2 divided by 2 and 1/4. 4/8 divided by 4 is equal to 1/2. And 2 3/9, you can divide top and bottom by 3 here, and you get 2 1/3. 5 7/9, there is no number that you can divide 7 and 9 by to simplify that, so the answer is still 5 7/9. And 3 10/12, you can divide numerator and denominator by 2, so the answer is 3 5/6. Alright, now these are pretty tricky. Kids have a lot of trouble with these, so really pay attention to how I teach you to do this. We're going to be solving equations involving fractions here. It says solve for the unknown in each of these equations. Some number plus 1/5 is equal to 7 3/5. So the best way to solve these is to ask yourself, what would I do if these were not fractions? What do I do if this is n plus, say 3 equals 8? Well, this n number would be found by taking 8 minus 3 to get that. So in this problem here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this n number, subtract that number, and that will equal this number. And that's how I solve it. So I'm going to do 7 3/5 minus 1/5, and that should be what n is equal to. Again, if you don't do what I'm asking you to do right here, I can almost guarantee you're going to have trouble on these. You're going to get stumped. You're going to be pulling your hair out. Do what I just showed you to do, which is to change it into a real simple problem and think, how would I find the missing number in a simple problem, and do the exact same process with the complicated problem. And this becomes, I don't need to find equivalent fractions because I already have a common denominator, but I've got 2/5 and 7, and you can see that is what the answer is, 7 2/5. Okay, I'm going to get all that off of there. Go ahead and try number 14, and then turn the video back on when you have the answer. This is a hard problem, watch out. Okay, now, if you use the method I taught you, you're going to change these into simple numbers. And I could just use 18 and 13. Let's get rid of the fraction. 18 minus d equals 13. Okay, how do I get this missing number in here? Well, the answer in this situation would be a 5, right? 18 minus 5 is 13. How do I get a 5 using the numbers 18 and 13? I subtract. I do 18 minus 13 gives me 5. So I must do the same thing with these two. The answer is not 5 1/3. And I'm sure most of you wrote 5 1/3 for the answer. That's because you guessed instead of doing what I told you to do on this sample right here. So if you didn't do the method I showed you, you got it wrong, and you got 5 1/3. Remember, we are going to take this and subtract that. How do I do that? I've got to do 18 minus 13 1/3. Okay, notice this is not nothing plus 1/3. This is nothing minus 1/3. So how do I do a problem like this? 18 minus 13 1/3. I'm going to have to regroup because I can't do nothing take away 1/3. This 18 becomes 17, and then I get 3/3 over here. You guys have been doing problems like this before, so you should know how to do them. 3/3 minus 1/3 is 2/3, and then I have 17 minus 13, which is 4. So the answer is 4 2/3. Hopefully you learned your lesson from seeing me do that one, because I'm sure, from my experience, most kids miss that first problem because they don't listen and do what I ask them to do by testing it. Go ahead and do 15, 16, 17, 18. Pause the video and then turn it back on when you're ready to see the solution. Okay, 15, 2 plus s equals 6 2/9. Again, let's use our method here. If this was 2 and this was 6, 2 plus some number equals 6. Well, the answer would be 4. How do I get that 4 using these two numbers? I do this one minus that one is going to equal that middle number. So I have to do 6 2/9 minus 2 gives me the answer. 2/9 take away nothing is 2/9. That's okay in that order. You don't have to do any regrouping. 6 minus 2 is 4. So the answer is 4 2/9. Now that one's a lot easier than this one over here, but you still want to keep using that method I showed you. Okay, if this was a real simple problem of 3 plus w equals 9, the answer, of course, would be 6. How do I get that number? This one minus this one. So just like the last problem, I'm going to do 9 5/8 minus 3, and that's 5/8, and 6. 6 and 5/8. Okay, now let's take a look at this one. How do I get this missing number? Some number minus 6 equals 8. Well, some of you might be thinking that's a 2 in there, but 2 take away 6. No, that's not quite right. You're not going to take 6 away from 2. You're going to have 14 minus 6 is equal to 8. And the way that you get this 14 is you add these two numbers together. So we need to add these two together to get the answer. 6 1/4 plus 8 is equal to 14 1/4. And the last one, some number plus 1 equals 3. So let's make that a real easy problem. How do you get this using these two numbers over here? Well, the answer, of course, is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. So 3 minus 1. So I'm going to take this number minus that number. So I do 3 5/7 minus 1 1/7. And 5/7 minus 1/7 is 4/7. And 3 minus 1 is 2. So the answer is 2 4/7. Ran out of space down there. All right, thanks for watching.